At some point in pretty much every video game, we have a piece of audio that loops. It could be sound design, it could be background noise, or it could be music. Audio designers have a variety of techniques to make these loops sound seamless, but almost all of them are built on a pretty basic principle. The principle is, if you crossfade the tail with a section at the beginning and you put them together, the listener won't hear the loop. Audio engines such as WWise and FMOD have ways to automatically perform this principle without you having to make the audio file itself. But very frequently when I'm working on games, even when I'm using some of these audio engines, we'll run into a situation where, for a variety of reasons, we'll need the audio file itself to be a loopable audio file. So we're not even relying on the audio engine putting the tail where it needs to be. We're doing that manually ourselves. So how do we make an audio file loopable? We want to make it sound like the end of the song is crossfading back into the beginning of the song. I call the beginning pre-roll, and I call the end post-roll. So we take a little bit of the post-roll, put it at the beginning of the file after bar 1, and we take a little bit of the pre-roll, put it at the end of the file right before the very end of the song. I'll show you real quickly how I do that in my DAW. What you can see is that I've got a little bit of what I call pre-roll. So this is just a quick little drum thing, that kind of one beat drum thing that's pushing into the downbeat. And then we start on bar 1. Okay. And then you can see that it runs all the way. I've got it perfectly synced up to the right tempos, so everything is synced up to the correctly. And it runs all the way to this bar right here, bar 83. And then you can see that I left this tail. This tail is one of the most important parts that we have for looping this correctly. So let's just hear it as it ends. To sum up, this section right here is what I call pre-roll, so anything that happens before the beginning. And this section right here is what I call post-roll, anything that happens after the final bar. So in this case, this piece is 3 bars long, and then at bar 83, it's just reverb, so that's not really part of the piece. Okay, so essentially what we're going to be doing, and there's a lot of different techniques that we could be doing, but one of the easiest things we can do is we can just bring that tail right to the downbeat, and then we bring this pre-roll right to where it was, which was 1 beat into the downbeat. And let's just get a little loop set up, and let's hear it. Now we could do this in any DAW. This one that I'm using is Reaper. Cool. Perfect. So we've got the tail put into the beginning. We've got this pre-roll put in at the end. And then now all we do is we combine them. If there's any additional tail or anything like that, we need to get rid of it. We cannot have that tail. So there we go. We've got one audio file with everything set up. Let's give it a test. I'm going to just put the exact same file after itself, and let's see if the transition works. Perfect. And the last thing that I sometimes do, because what you'll sometimes find is when we go from 0 into sound, is there will be a little pop. And so sometimes I draw the tiniest little fade, something like that. I'll draw the tiniest little fade at the end. And then that way both loops are going to wind up at 0. You see how the kind of goes back to 0. Let's just give that a test. Make sure that we can't hear the fade. Sounds good to me. We're going to commit this to audio, so I just made the fade permanent, and this is our perfect loop. We can loop it forever as many times. We'll never hear the gap. One big downside that you'll notice right away is that the audio tail might be obvious when you hear it at the very beginning of the bar and in the very beginning of the loop. Game designers have been dealing with this for decades. Basically, usually when we're doing this method, there's a slight bit of a fade coded into the engine. The first time you play a file, it fades in at the very beginning. And that's one way of getting around hearing that noticeable tail at the beginning of the file. It's a solvable problem. We deal with it in a lot of different ways all the time.